Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're a Toyota owner, you might have seen that dreaded check engine light pop up on your dashboard. You plug in your scanner and it spits out the code. P0171. What does that even mean? Don't worry, it's actually a really common code. And today, we're gonna break it down. So you can diagnose and maybe even fix it yourself, saving a trip to the mechanic. So, P0171 stands for System 2, Lean Bank 1. In plain English, this means your engine's computer, or AC, is detecting too much air and not enough fuel in the air-fuel mixture. Your engine needs a precise ratio of air to fuel to run efficiently. When it's too lean, it's like trying to make a cake with too much flour and not enough water. The recipe's just off. Bank 1 simply refers to the side of the engine that contains cylinder number 1, for most four-cylinder Toyotas. There's only one bank, so you'll just see bank 1. Why is this a problem? A lean condition can cause all sorts of issues. You might notice your engine hesitating or stumbling during acceleration, a rough idle, poor fuel economy, or even difficulty starting. If you ignore it for too long, it can lead to more serious damage, like overheating the catalytic converter. So, it's definitely something you want to address. Now, let's get into the fun part. Finding the culprit. There are a few usual suspects for a P0171 code. The most common causes are unmetered air getting into the system, or a problem with the fuel delivery. Let's start with the easiest and most frequent cause. Vacuum leaks. A vacuum leak is essentially a crack or a hole somewhere in the intake system after the mass airflow sensor. Your engine's computer uses the MAF sensor to measure how much air is coming in. If there's a leak, extra, unmeasured air is sneaking into the engine, throwing off that perfect air-fuel ratio. Think of it like a tiny hole in a drinking straw. You re-sucking an extra air from the side. So, how do you find a vacuum leak? Start with a visual inspection. Pop the hood and look at all the rubber hoses connected to your intake, manifold, and air filter box. We're looking for anything that looks cracked, brittle, disconnected, or worn out. Pay close attention to the large intake boot that connects the air filter box to the throttle body. These can develop cracks over time, especially in the accordion-like folds. Wiggle the hoses a bit to see if they're loose or if any cracks open up. If a visual inspection doesn't reveal anything obvious, the next step is often a smoke test. This is what the pros do. A smoke machine pumps a harmless, visible smoke into the intake system. Wherever the smoke comes out, that's your leak. You can buy inexpensive smoke testers online, or some people even build their own DIY version. It's the most definitive way to find a sneaky leak. Okay, let's say you've checked for vacuum leaks and everything looks sealed tight. What's next? The second most common cause is a dirty mass airflow, or MAF sensor. This little sensor is the gatekeeper. It tells the computer exactly how much air is entering the engine. Over time, it can get coated with dirt, oil, and other gunk. When it's dirty, it can't measure the airflow accurately. It might underreport the amount of air, causing the computer to inject too little fuel, leading to our lean condition. The MAF sensor is usually located right after the air filter box, plugged into the main air intake tube. It's typically held in by two small screws and has an electrical connector attached. The fix here is simple. Clean it, but please do not use brake cleaner, carburetor cleaner, or anything other than a dedicated MAF sensor cleaner. These other chemicals are too harsh and can destroy the delicate sensor. To clean it, carefully unplug the electrical connector, unscrew the sensor, and pull it out. You'll see a couple of tiny wires or a small plate inside. Spray it generously with the MAF sensor cleaner from about 6 inches away. Give it 10 to 15 good sprays, making sure to hit the sensing elements. Do not touch the wires with anything. Not your finger, not a cotton swab, nothing. They are incredibly fragile. Let it air dry completely for at least 15 to 20 minutes before you reinstall it. Once it's back in, clear the codes with your scanner and take the car for a drive to see if the light stays off. What if you've checked for vacuum leaks, cleaned the MAF sensor, and that pesky P0171 code still comes back? Now we need to look at the fuel side of the equation. If there isn't enough fuel being delivered, you'll also get a lean code. This could be due to a weak fuel pump, a clogged fuel filter, or dirty fuel injectors. You can check your fuel pressure with a fuel pressure gauge. to see if the pump is performing up to spec. If the pressure is low, your fuel pump might be on its way out. A clogged fuel filter is also a possibility, especially on higher mileage vehicles. Replacing it is often a good piece of preventative maintenance anyway. Dirty fuel injectors can also restrict fuel flow. Sometimes, a good quality fuel injector cleaner additive in your gas tank can help, but for severely clogged injectors, they may need to be professionally cleaned or replaced. Another, less common cause could be a faulty front oxygen sensor, also known as an air-fuel ratio sensor. This sensor is what's actually detecting the lean condition in the exhaust. Sometimes, the sensor itself can fail and give a false reading. However, you'll usually get other specific codes for a bad oxygen sensor, so it's best to rule out the more common vacuum leaks and MOF sensor issues first. So, to recap, if you get a P0171, first, do a thorough visual inspection for any cracked or disconnected vacuum hoses. Second, carefully clean your MAF sensor with a correct cleaner. These two steps will solve the problem for a huge majority of people. If the code persists, then you can start investigating the fuel system, like the fuel pump and filter, or potentially the oxygen sensor. Dealing with a check engine light can be stressful, but with a logical approach, you can often track down the source of the problem yourself. I hope this guide helps you conquer that P0171 code and get your Toyota running perfectly again. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more DIY repair guides. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.